Today, I want to talk to you about account transactions, specifically in bookkeeping for the self-employed. If you're self-employed, then you certainly know that your bookkeeping doesn't just consist of your own invoices, but also the invoices you receive from your service providers and suppliers, and very importantly, your payment accounts, meaning either cash if you deal in cash transactions or your business account. My personal and urgent recommendation is always to set up a completely separate business account right from the very start. So one private account for all your personal financial transactions and a dedicated business account where you also prominently put the IBAN on all your invoices and from which you meticulously handle all your business transfers. This way, you will have all your business finances gathered together in this one single account, which makes bookkeeping significantly and remarkably easier. And now let's get to the bottom of the crucial question. How do you actually get these bank account transactions into your bookkeeping? In the vast majority of cases, this isn't a problem at all, but whenever it doesn't work automatically, transferring the account transactions becomes a huge time sink and in fact, a very real cost trap. That's why I thought we could just go through the whole process together, step by step. The worst way to get your account transactions into your bookkeeping is with paper bank statements. And I think it's absolutely crazy that for many banks in Germany, paper bank statements are still actually the status quo. That means actual pieces of paper are being sent around the world, delivered to your mailbox by post, and then you open the letter and start typing everything in by hand. While that's theoretically possible, firstly, it's incredibly inefficient. Secondly, you regularly get charged fees for it. And of course, the whole process is also quite prone to errors. PDF bank statements are only a little bit better. At least with those, no more pieces of paper are being driven around the world by mail. You receive these PDF bank statements as usual through online banking. And to be honest, that's actually the standard nowadays that you get your bank statements in PDF format. But in accounting, this isn't really any more efficient because you end up actually typing out these PDF statements by hand. Structured data formats like CSV files are actually much better. The big advantage of CSV files is that they're basically like an open Excel spreadsheet. That means all the information is already readable and you can then import these CSV files into your accounting software. Compared to PDF or paper bank statements, this saves a significant amount of time, reduces the risk of errors, and in most cases it doesn't even cost more. In addition to CSV files, there is actually a more specialized type of file format. I would call it the CSV file for accountants. This format exists specifically for the use case where you want to transfer your bank account transactions into your accounting system. And honestly, it doesn't matter whether you do your own accounting or your tax advisor does it for you. And this file format is called MT940. With the MT940 format, the data is already prepared exactly as it should be for your accounting in the end. That's why when choosing your bank account, you should definitely make sure that your bank account can provide these MT940 files and that there are no extra charges for this. I've actually looked at a whole range of banks myself. Who actually provides these MT940 files? And while most banks are technically able to do this, they don't offer it by default. That means you can't just go into your online banking and download MT940 files. Instead, you have to fill out some weird PDF form or contact a bank advisor, and then they have to activate it somehow. And for example, Deutsche Bank sometimes charges 20 euros a month just so you can export your account transactions in this MT940 format instead of a CSV file. I'll show you an overview here that shows at which banks you can export this MT940 format directly from online banking and at which banks the process is a bit more complicated. An important note at this point, in principle, all banks can do this. That means all banks or almost all banks can provide you with this format. But with some banks, the whole process is just very cumbersome. So if you're currently in the process of choosing a bank account, make sure you can get this file format. And if you have any convenient and accessible way of obtaining this specific file format for all your financial account transactions, please do make sure to use it. So both for importing and especially when you're working with your tax advisor, ideally you shouldn't send them PDF account statements, but rather MT940 files. A quick note about neobanks like N26, Contest and so on. Especially with these particular banks, you should definitely thoroughly check whether they can indeed provide you with this required file format. Because most neobanks don't offer this, and that's also the reason why most tax advisors actively advise against using these bank accounts. Since I know this personally, and honestly I also know the pain of not having this file format, we've made sure to implement it at Contest. That means at Contest, for example, you get this MT940 format. But at N26, for instance, you don't get it at all. Even the support team can't help you with that. It simply doesn't exist there. And you have to make do with PDF or CSV files, which actually require significantly more effort and are simply more prone to errors. To sum up, your bank absolutely should provide you with this MT940 format. First. Second, you should definitely use it when doing your accounting or when sending your bank account transactions to your tax advisor. And if you choose a new bank account, first make sure that this format is actually available. As mentioned with some neobanks, this is not a given. And second, ensure it doesn't come with extra costs. This feature isn't prominently listed in the pricing table, but hidden in the fine print. So make sure to look for MT940 and check for any additional fees. I find it bold to charge 250 euros a year for a file format. It doesn't offer any extra features, it's just about the structuring. So be sure to pay attention to this when choosing a bank account. And with that, we come to the absolute pinnacle of bank account transactions, direct integration. It's all well and good to manually enter data from paper, and you can do the same with PDFs, and CSV and MT940 make it a bit easier. But the very best and most convenient option is when the bank account is directly linked to the accounting software, allowing you to either exchange transactions in real time or at least with just one click. That's why if you have the opportunity, you should definitely connect your bank account directly to your accounting software. And let me emphasize this again. It doesn't matter at all whether you do your own bookkeeping with, for example, Lexware Office, which works fantastically well, or if you have a tax advisor. Most tax advisors work with Datev, and even with Datev, in the vast majority of cases, you can connect your bank account directly. This means that if you have a tax advisor, you should make sure that they receive your bank transactions automatically, because then you don't have to download and upload any file formats. And everything is already in the correct format directly in the accounting software. This direct integration can actually incur additional costs both on the bank side and on the accounting software side. That's really annoying. I also think that's absolutely out of line. But if you compare those few extra euros to the time you spend downloading these documents, forwarding them, clarifying follow-up questions, dealing with possible formatting issues where you have to delete the import and upload it again and so on, honestly, you just have to say it's worth it. Unless you're a passionate accountant and you just really enjoy doing all this, and you don't mind if your tax advisor spends half an hour or an hour more on it, and possibly charges you for that extra time, then by all means go ahead. However, by 2025, accounting really should be fully digital and integrated. That means your bank account should be directly connected to your accounting software or to the software your tax advisor or accountant uses. So if you haven't set this up yet, definitely take a look at your accounting software or talk to your tax advisor to make sure you can do everything in real time, and then you'll be rid of all that hassle. And if your tax advisor or accounting software truly doesn't offer this particular service, then for me that's definitely a significant reason to question whether you might want to consider switching. If you have any questions about this, feel free to write them in the comment section and I'll do my best to help you out. I know that in most cases, getting your bank account transactions into your accounting isn't a problem at all. But if it is, it can be an incredibly significant time waster. That's precisely why I wanted to make this video to tell you. What is actually the true gold standard and how should you ideally be working today? I know there are also a ton of individual cases and issues and so on. Feel free to share your experiences with me because, of course, I only know my own personal perspective, but I know that when I was helping to build up Contest, this was always a huge topic. That's why I hope it's no longer a big issue for you now. And if you're looking for a good bank account, a tax advisor, or an accounting program where you can actually sync your bank account live, then check out my recommendations in the video description below, or just click right here. Or simply watch one of the other videos on this channel. We've prepared a few hundred of them, for example this one or this one,